Hey y'all, this is AL Think Madame. Happy Saturday. I hope that everything is going well with you all. I hope that y'all had a wonderful Valentine's Day. And if you didn't celebrate it, I just hope you had a wonderful day in general. But that was my birthday, so I tried to enjoy myself, and I feel as though I did, even though it might seem very simple what I did, which I told y'all in a video that my plan was to eat at the house and watch some anime, which I did, and I enjoyed it. So, on to the recap. So, on American Soul, it started out with the repast of Brienne, which is Kelly Price's character, the mother. And, this was before everybody arrived, and you could tell she was in her feelings. Of course, that is to be expected. So she was in her feelings before it started, and I was just like, Lord. She was in her feelings, and, I guess they'd already delivered that flag to her, and she kind of, had her moment, and then she, shoved the flag in her son's hand, I think, and, kind of stormed off. So I was like, oh, that's just so sad. And it is, because he was almost home. He literally was done. So it's like, they need to explain. They need to explain how he died, because that makes no sense to me. So I guess that the dance coordinator, which her name on here is Tess Lorraine, she is at home, and she's digging under her bed, and she's throwing all kinds of stuff from under the bed. And I'm like, what in the world is going on? Y'all, she proceeds to find, I don't know if it was a flyer, an award, or whatever, but it was framed, and it had someone doing a move that you see ballerinas and such do, people who are technically trained in that particular type of dance. And so I was like, okay, all right. So I was like, okay, what is this about to lead to? I was just like, okay. But that's literally all they showed, and I was like, okay, that's all y'all gonna show, and then go to the next scene? Oh, okay. So then Don Cornelius is in his office in LA, and he's making phone calls to people trying to book talent. He's having a really hard time, and people are not trying to hear what he has going on, despite his success with Gladys Knight basically being the first of the few really well-known acts that were on the show. Especially since he's trying to, at this point, have all, black acts. And I think at one point in time, even back then, they did the barge, so black and brown acts. So, he's having a really hard time with that. So then his wife calls him, and she's frantic because one of their sons is missing. I think his name is Anthony. And, he was like, well, did you check with this person? And she was like, of course I checked with them. And so, she was just like, you need to get out here and all this other stuff. And so he was like, I can't just leave like that or whatever. At first he was making excuses, he wasn't even going to try to come home or do nothing. And so it got to the point where he was like, I'll come home or whatever. And, as soon as he can, he'll come home. And so then he has a flashback. And this is something that I see is going to happen throughout this whole episode. He has a flashback to where he's, I guess, outside of his home as a child, and he's boxing his father. His father is teaching him how to box, and, he's acting really timid and not really into it. And it gets to the point where his father was like, you need to man up or whatever. You need to do what you need to do. You either going to be a mailman like me, or you're going to be something. I guess for him, a lot of black men back in the day wanted their sons to be boxers. And I was like, okay. So, that flashback went away. So I was like, oh, right. Y'all doing the most. And he kind of knocked him out and all this other stuff. He was like, you either going to do this or you going to do that. So, of course, a lot of people, I don't understand why he said that, because I've always been told that if a black man was a mailman, a trash man, or any of those particular type of jobs, that was seen as, pretty good considering how the, social climate was back then. So I was just like, okay. So we're back at the repass again, and Kendall, he is the son of Brienne, who is Kelly Price, her character. his child's mother shows up with their son to pay their respects and all that good stuff. And so some random stuff go down at one point in time, because they keep going back and forth between scenes. So they end up, the group Encore, which is Kendall, Simone, and JT. JT, of course, is Simone's boyfriend. So they're in a room and they're talking, and Simone brings to their attention that there's a gig that, you know, is going to be paying $50 and, you know, that they should go. And so Kendall was like, nah. Like, he wasn't trying to hear that at all. And then it got to the point where even JT was like, I don't know about that. You know, I kind of agree with him, which they never agree. So she was even like, what? So she made it clear whether they are going to be supportive or not, whether they back out or not, she's still going to go. And so, you know, everybody's just looking at her like, all right, well, do what you do. Y'all, so we are back in LA at the Soul Train, you know, studio, right? Don Cornelius is in his office and some random woman roll up, right? And so she was like, I need a moment of your time, Mr. Cornelius. And I was just like, when I tell you, I was like, come on now, I'm real tired of my spirit already. So, of course, this whore rolls up and, you know, I'm just like, you just real bold, huh? She rolled up to my sheet, you know. He was like, well, who are you? And she proceeds to, like, take off her little jacket, and she has this lingerie and all this stuff up under what she had on, up under the coat. And was like, yeah, my name is this and whatever. And, you know, she was just like, you know, my name is Mona St. James, and, you know, I am an aspiring actress, or whatever she said, y'all. I was just so tired. And I was just like, you real bold. Like, stop it. Y'all, so at first he kind of seemed like he was intrigued, but I guess that was the act that he wanted to put on, y'all. So like I said, it goes back and forth between different parts of the show, right? But, you know, I left out a part where, like I said earlier, they were trying to find his son. Y'all, turns out his son had set it all the way off, and the guy on the Amtrak train and came to his daddy. And it's like, how? How, sir? And he's like really young. The son is like really young. Like, you can tell he has to be under the age of 12, 10, whatever. And I was just like, what? And so he's at the studio or whatever, you know, the Soul Train studio. And, you know, he's looking like, what? Where'd you come from? And, you know, Tess brings him in there and police are there. And she's trying to explain to the police that he's an upstanding citizen. I assure you that he's not, you know, whatever, endangering kids, all this other stuff or whatever, right? And he was just like, what are you doing here? Oh my gosh, y'all. He ended up taking him to the back and asking him, how did he get there and all this other stuff. And so he was like, I took the tickets that you gave mom or whatever. And so, you know, he was like, well, since you think you so grown, you think you a man, you gonna work and pay for these tickets, basically. So eventually he had him doing a little random stuff around the studio, which wasn't much because, like I said, he's a pretty small child, y'all. So anyway, like I was saying, the whore came in and tried to seduce him, y'all. He went to close one of his shades, blinds, whatever you want to say, and then he had another set. And Tess was about to actually walk back there to where he was to get some money so that she could go and put some money in the vending machine for him to get him a snack, when she looked in the room and saw him about to turn her away and close that shade, but she saw the woman standing there half naked. Like, if you don't get somewhere and sit down, I was just like, ma'am, why? Y'all, so I was just like, it don't make no sense. I was so tired, y'all. And so she was like, hey, don't you, you know, try to, you know, divert his attention elsewhere. Because, like I said, he's really small. He could not have seen anyway, and she was leading the way. So I was just like, Lord, you doing the most, y'all. So they go to another scene. But what happens with that scene, to end that scene, he was like, he closed the blinds. And he was like, yeah, I'm going to take you. How about we go someplace where it's nice and quiet and more privacy or something, he said, y'all. So she has her coat on. They walking down the hall and they talking. And so she's trying to talk to him, you know, I guess because she sees him as a meal ticket of some sort, be able to boost her career or whatever she think it's going to be. Y'all, he politely walked her to a side door and told her that he ain't here for all that mess and that she can get on by her business, and kicked her out. I was like, oh my God. Y'all, I was dying. I really was dying. I was like, that's what you get. And she had the nerve to cuss through the door at him and all that. I was like, the one time he trying to be faithful, somebody actually see, you know, how terrible it looks from the outside. So I was like, Lord. So the character that Bobby Brown is going to be playing, and I think he's only in this episode, is a character, what's his name, Rufus Thomas or something like that. The guy who created the song Funky Chicken, or Do the Funky Chicken, or whatever the name of the song is, or whatever, right? So he arrives. And I'm just like, Lord. Because I already knew before, when I did one of my thoughts videos, I saw the news about how, you know, who the cast was, and especially like the people who are actually well known. And, you know, of course, he's well known, even though he's a mess. And I was just like, oh, okay. All right. So he arrived, and I was like, Lord, don't nobody have time for that mess. So JT, he is hanging out with that guy again, the guy who's a Crip member, wanna be Malcolm X so bad. And, you know, he's basically sitting up here plotting his next, you know, heist. And JT's like, no, man, I can't do all that. You know, I need to make money, but I ain't trying to make money that way. So he was like, you know, you got to do what you got to do. You know what I'm saying? And I was just like, Lord. And so he was like, look, I ain't got nothing on me. You know, he thought about it for a minute. He was like, you know, they don't know me. I don't have a record. I ain't got nothing on me. There was nothing that they could really do. And so he was like, if one of us goes down, we all go down. So at that moment, I was just like, if I didn't know before, I definitely know now that you are not the type of person that needs to be hanging around. Like, it's like, why would you want to hang out with this dude? He already showed you who he was. After that first incident after that first instance where he dropped him off, all right, that's cool, dropped him off at a house. But then when he sat up there and did a jewelry heist, no, you should have been done, cut all ties then. Because now you about to get it caught up when you don't have to be getting caught up. Girl, sir, whoever, y'all, I was just so tired. I was like, this is what we not finna do. Y'all, so they end up showing Bobby Brown's character again, Rufus. Y'all, Rufus in here trying to mac. And he look like a whole fool. Y'all know how y'all, I don't know if your daddy, your uncle, or whoever, y'all have seen men who are balding. They ain't got no hair right here, but they got all this right here looking like a mess and just need to cut it off. Yeah, that's how he was looking. And he had on one of those like jumpsuit things, one pieces. You know what I'm talking about, what they used to wear back then, and they coming back and trying to make it a style again for men. I mean, a lot of women still wear that stuff, but yeah. Y'all, he was looking like a whole fool. And so it's this one girl who, I guess her name is Florence, they call her Flo. She was flirting with him, trying to get her life. And so I was just like, girl, stop. Tess saw her doing all that, pulled her to the side, was talking to her outside, told her that she need to cut that out. That don't make no sense. And so she was like, I mean, that girl tried to read her for filth. And she was like, there are a lot of people like me out here doing what they got to do. And I'm trying to make my dream come true. And if you were any good at what you say you do or what you did in the past, you wouldn't be sitting up here doing this. Because, I mean, apparently she's classically trained and all this other. So that girl read her and walked off. She even was just standing there. She might as well have did this and clutched the pearls. The way that girl read her and walked off. I was like, ma'am, that's what we not finna do. Y'all, so anyway. JT came home, right? And y'all know his mama do the most. This heifer left a pot on the stove, about to burn the house down. And he called his mama. Of course, she's somewhere probably passed out. He done turned that off. And then he hears sirens. So he ended up going to the window. Sir, you need to just go ahead and leave that dude and all the other people alone. You're going to get caught up. That's all I'm trying to tell him. Y'all, so Brienne, you know, Kelly Price, she's sitting at home eating dinner with her kids, Kendall and Simone. And so she starts talking, and she was like, yeah, you know, your dad said that he was going to fix the sink once he got home. So then they ended up lighting the mood, and they were talking about a time where the dad tried to make lasagna, but he made it with like Tabasco sauce and barbecue sauce and some hard noodles. And so, you know, they were able to laugh about it. And I was like, oh, that's so good. Y'all better do that. Y'all, I was tired. So Meanwhile, in LA, Tess done rolled up on Don Cornelius, and he's in this office or somewhere, and his son is sitting next to him. He done worked a little bit, and he all tuckered out. So he's sitting in this chair with a boot on his arm. He got a whole boot, like a whole grown man's boot on his arm, and he's asleep, right? And Don Cornelius is like sitting next to him trying to make phone calls. He's still trying to make it happen, y'all. And so Don Cornelius is already looking at her like, don't come up in here with that mess. I ain't got time for girl talk or whatever he said, slick. And so she was like, that speech you made earlier, does that apply to you? So earlier he made a speech, and it was in reference to when Rufus was there. And I guess Tess went and told on her old girl. And he was basically like, y'all are standing in my dream. This is my dream. Now, if you want to do something else, y'all want to go out here and have sex, people, what you're not going to do is do that up in here. You ain't going to sit up here and have sex with the guests. You ain't doing nothing with none of the talent. If you want to sit up here and act a fool, you can go do that somewhere else, because this is my dream. You can get out if you don't like it. So he said the rules, and everybody said they understood. And old girl, Flo, looking like, because she know that meeting was basically all about her being a hoe and doing the most, trying to get with Rufus. I was like, if you don't get somewhere and sit down, like she did the most. I was like, ma'am, you acting like this man just flashed you $10,000. Was like, I get this to you if you shake your booty 2 times, clap your booty real quick. I'm just like, why are you acting so thirsty? The thirst was real. I was tired, y'all. So, you know, he was like, look, I make the rules. I ain't got to follow them. You know, that was just what he said. I was like, Lord, y'all doing the most. So at one point in time, later on, you know, after everything happened at the repast, because a lot of people came, paid their respects. Some time had passed by, and so they're at home, and Kendall is talking to his mother, and, you know, she's trying to encourage them. And this was like after the dinner. And so Simone was like, well, I got something I got to do. I'm thinking this is when she had to go to that gig. And so Kendall was like, I'm going to turn in. So his mama tried to encourage him, you know what I'm saying? And then Kendall got in his feelings and was like, nah, you know what I'm saying? My dad died. And that's the only reason why I'm not going to Vietnam. And so she was, you know, still trying to encourage him. He wasn't trying to hear that. Like, he is deep in his feelings right now, because that's the only reason why he got out of it. Y'all know how the draft went back in the day. Y'all. Don't nobody have time, like, at all. Lord, like, he really can't handle it. So they do a flash, you know, forward to Tess being at the studio. I keep saying studio because, you know, it's actually, they call it a studio. She's at Soul Train, and it's after hours, and the lights are dim and all this other stuff. And she has a little leotard. So I'm like, ma'am, are you about to dance? That's what you finna do. So she had these moments, and she's just looking at the Soul Train sign that we always see when we would watch Soul Train. And, you know, she's just there. And then they end up going back and forth between her and Simone. Simone goes to this little club. I guess it's a little hole in the wall type of club. I don't know. But she's there. And while Simone is performing, they eventually show Tess dancing. And she's amazing. I have a cousin who dances, and for as long as I can remember, like, she's actually about to be 30 this year in July when her birthday comes. June, excuse me. And she's amazing at ballet, all that stuff. Like, really amazing. And she is like the first Black girl that I've ever seen in my life before it actually started becoming a theme and a thing, which is amazing. But I was amazed because my whole life I'd only seen fair-skinned people doing things like that, whether it was male or female. So I saw my cousin doing all that, and, you know, when I saw this part with Tess dancing, it reminded me of my cousin, and she still does it from time to time. She'll do little moments at churches and other little plays and stuff she's into. So she's still doing well as far as dancing is concerned. So I'm very happy for her. I'm very proud of her. I always have been. She's my little cousin, but she's amazing. So real recognize real. And so then they end up showing Simone. Simone is on stage. They introduce her. She come up there. Y'all, she was kind of nervous at first. You know how hecklers and people who are impatient, they're like, come on, sweetie, come on, sweetheart, or whatever. So she starts to sing, and at first she just like was like, yeah, whatever the little note she did. And people kind of joined in, and they was here for it. Like, whatever that song is, I'm getting it. Y'all be understanding. The songs that she sings or that Encore sings that I haven't heard or I feel like I might have heard before, oh, I'm going to get the soundtrack. I'm getting the soundtrack of any of the songs on here that I do not have, because I have the Honeycombs. I've been had all that stuff. I have Gladys Knight songs that I like. What's her name is going to come on next time. Michelle Williams is going to play Diana Ross. I have a few of her songs. And it's funny because I actually like the Braxtons, their version of The Boss, which is a Diana Ross song. Y'all don't know that song? That song is everything. I was so bright, yeah, thought I could turn emotion on and off. And I was so sure that love taught me who was the boss. Y'all, that song is everything. And that's Tamar. Tamar is doing most of those leads and things, and you can hear Tawanda coming through a little bit too. But yeah, if you wanna see somebody set it off on some of these older songs, I like when the Braxtons do it. But I digress. But yeah, she's gonna be on like the next episode if I'm not mistaken. And I think that's when they're going to start covering the alleged, I guess I'm gonna say alleged because I don't know anything about it, the alleged affair and or relationship that Dawn Cornelius and Diana Ross had. I don't know. Anyway, back to what I was talking about. Y'all, so she did amazingly well at her gig, Simone. The crowd loved her, and that song was everything. So later on, she does the last part of her gig, and I'll talk about that when I get there. So Don is in the middle of praying. He at the house, and his son is with him. He's not in the room with him. He done squared his son away. So he is praying. Y'all, Don know he wrong. So he's in the middle of praying. Like, he literally just started his prayer. His son busts in the room. Was like, hey, Dad, what are you praying about? Don Cornelius had to set it all the way off, and then his son, like, ran away. So then Don Cornelius has a flashback again. And this time, this is when his father is boxing him again, but he is, you know, older. He looks like who the person who's playing Don Cornelius is now. Y'all, so I was tired. Okay, so what happened was, oh, he wasn't boxing this time. Y'all, wait a minute. So this is what happened. Don Cornelius was still a child. I'm sorry. I'll get to the other part later. He was still a child. Y'all, he had the house outside. And so I'm not looking close enough, right? Y'all, his daddy up in here about to start screwing some random woman, right? And so his daddy sees him, and then, you know, he stops. And he was like, boy, get in this house, you know, trying to get him to come in the house. So he ends up getting him to come in the house. He has his belt out. So he gives him this little story. And then he proceeds to tell him at the end of the story, don't tell your mama about nothing that you saw here today. You ain't had no business cheating. Get your behind somewhere and go to work. Go somewhere and sit down. You can go in the back somewhere, mend the fence, fix a roof, fix a leaky faucet, do something instead of cheating. You could be doing something productive instead of sitting up here cheating. You doing the most. Y'all, I was so tired. Y'all, anyway, so when Don was able to catch up with his son in real time back then, he ended up giving him $20 for the work that he'd done. So then his son mumbled something, and he was like, son, you got to speak up and you got to look a man directly in his eye when you're talking to him. So he was like, I want us to go to a movie together. And so he was like, you know, ain't nothing going on right now but late movies. Do you think you'd be able to stay up for him? And so, he, was like, yeah. So he was like, well, go get dressed. And so they were going to go to the movie. So his son wants to spend time with his daddy so bad that the money he gave him, he's willing to spend it on him just to spend some more time with him. Like, I was just like, look, boy, you doing a lot. Y'all, so Kendall is going all the way through, like, for real. So I'm looking like, why are we seeing a Vietnam scene again? Y'all, Kendall is envisioning himself on a battlefield in Vietnam, and his daddy is in the middle of gunfire with him and actually saving him, and Kendall's on the ground. And he was like, it's all right. I saved you or something like that. And I'm like, oh no, Kendall is going through. I hope he can somehow, like, I wish he could see somebody, do something. He need to talk to somebody because he about to go crazy, having nightmares. Like, I was just like, Lord, this don't make no sense. Y'all, so here we go. Simone is at the place and she's closing out her set. And like I said, everybody warmed up to her. They lived for her voice. So she was like, you know, I'm about to do this last song. And it was a song I was supposed to do with my daddy, but, you know, I can't do that or whatever. She didn't explain to them why. So she starts singing the song. Then she stops. And so she was like, okay, y'all, I'm sorry. I will start over. And so everybody was like, you know, whatever. And then her boyfriend, JT, comes in and he's playing his instrument. He comes in and apparently the part that she stopped on was the part her daddy was supposed to come in on. So it kind of threw her for a loop as to what she should do. So he came in, he saved the day. They were able to sing the song. It went amazingly well. I was so happy. I was like, yes, come on, song. Y'all, so they end up going to this place that's like a lookout. And you know what I'm saying? Lookout mountain type of situation. And they're up there talking and they're talking about the view. And then it gets to the point where, you know, they go back to the back part of the car on the outside and Simone is just standing there. And he was just like, tell me what to do. Tell me what to say. Because, you know, he knows she's in her feelings. He knows how close she was to her daddy. So he was trying to be a very supportive boyfriend. She proceeds to open the back door and sit down. So he already knew what time it was going to be. And he was like, you know, we're not supposed to do it this way or whatever. And so she was like, what you mean? You know what I'm saying? So she was basically like, what we finna do is have sex. That was the body language she gave. So she, I guess, ended up losing her virginity. We were supposed to infer that, you know, sex happened. So I was like, ma'am. So the guy that got shot in that robbery, who was the guy who was the gang member, he's in the hospital. He's been in the hospital for like a week now. And, you know, he's kind of been not really in, but more out. And so they've been telling the black guy who is Tess's husband, boyfriend, or whatever he is, that they need to get information out of him or, you know, they're going to find another way to go through with what they need to go through. And because they are already going to pin this dude to the wall anyway, because he's a part of the situation that went down and they killed that police officer. So he was like, okay, well, let's call the doctor in. They called the doctor in and I guess they kind of gave him some medicine to kind of make him come to. Like he had a tube in his neck or something too, y'all, or something. So dude can't even hardly talk. So he was in there and trying to talk to him and telling him, you gonna go down, you need to give me a name, whatever. Y'all, eventually he snitched, as people like to say. I hate when people say snitch because it's just so stupid. But that's what happened. You know, that's what they would have said if it had been that situation. Like, oh, you snitching. So, yeah, that's what happened. He ended up snitching on someone, and it wouldn't surprise me if it was JT. They already, before they even talked to him, they said that they were going to put a bolo out on the car that JT drives because they at least got that description right. And I was like, Lord, they're doing the most. Y'all, so anyway, Don Cornelius is at the studio, and his son is about to be seen off by Tess. And his son is under the impression that Don Cornelius is going to go home with him and his mama. And he was like, well, you know, I got to work. And so Don gave Tess some money for gas. What she was supposed to do is drive him, the son, Anthony, to the airport. And he's going to fly home by himself. But anyway, so, you know, she was like, I don't need that, whatever. So he gave her that money and, you know, y'all, so later on, the son arrives and the mama, I guess, went to the airport, picked him up. And so they're arriving home and they're walking in the door and everything. And so she was like, oh, I'm just so happy to have you home. What, man, the son wasn't trying to hear none of that. The son was like, look, why did you make me have to come home? I wanted to stay out there with Dad. I wanted to work for Dad. I was going to work on him so that we could be together and all this other stuff. Lord, that boy got to fight with her. And then she ended up like making him hug her close so she could kind of calm him down. Like, he's really in his feelings. Like, I ain't trying to hear nothing you saying because I want my dad to be here with me, y'all. And then the boy broke down. He was like, why doesn't he want to be with us? I was like, Lord have mercy. No. Y'all, so tell me why Brienne is sitting like in like a dining room, I guess is what it was. She's just sitting there at the house by herself and she's hearing the leaky faucet. It's quiet, so that's all you hear. So she look over there at it. Then she get up and she goes into the kitchen and she gets this what is it, wrench? I forgot what the name. Y'all, I should know what this called because my daddy do all this stuff. She gets the little wrench thing and it's like something about her husband in my mind. This is what my interpretation of it is. I feel like her husband came to her and was like, look, baby, you could do this. All you got to do is go in there and do this. She went up under the sink and turned something. I guess she turned one of those ringers or whatever they call them. And the dripping stopped. So she had like a sigh of relief. I was like, oh, y'all. So they did a flash again. Well, not really a flash at that moment. They ended up going and showing the son in his room praying. And so the mama was about to come in there and I guess kind of bait him a little bit with cookies and milk or whatever it was, some kind of snack. And so she left back out because she saw I was praying, y'all. So anyway, Don Cornelius is still trying to secure Big Axe. And it's still not working. He in his feelings. He mad. Y'all, they end up going and doing a flashback to what I was saying earlier when I misspoke and I said it too early, where he was older and he looked like he looks now. So he was talking to his daddy. His daddy was trying to box him again. So it got to the point where he was, the daddy just keeps intimidating him. Like, it's like you keep trying somebody. And he's like old and big now. It's like, come on now. He kept trying him. Y'all, he ended up beating his daddy down. And he was like, I'm going to marry Dolores. Y'all, wait a minute. So I got to tell y'all what happened, right? Don Cornelius, on that day, I guess his daddy punched his teeth out. And they never got fixed. Because they ended up showing him taking something out of his mouth. And I was like, why it look like the top part of what people put in with false teeth, but I didn't see no teeth attached. I don't know if I would look too quick or not. It was like, y'all, and then like he had a big package he had gotten. So I was like, because at first I was like, what is that? Then he got a package. And so he picked the package up and he like smiled like, y'all, like this tooth all over the, like all this was gone. I was like, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I was so tired. I was like, wait a minute, y'all. I was done. I was completely done. I was like, what you mean? Y'all, the teeth was gone. I was so tired. Oh, Lord. Lord have mercy. But yeah. That was all that happened on that episode, y'all. Next time gonna be good. I can't wait to see how this situation gonna pop off with Diana Ross. Oh, Lord, a lot finna go down. But anyway, y'all, continue to have a wonderful weekend, and I'll see y'all on the next one.